Greetings, card fighters, and welcome to Premium 101, an introduction to Cardfight Vanguard's premium format. I'm Devlin Cassidy, aka The Scholar, and I'm here to help you start your premium format journey in the game of Cardfight Vanguard. I hope that this starter's guide for today's clan is very beneficial in having you figure out what deck you want to pick up when you decide to play premium. I hope that you find this video very informational and helpful, and hopefully have you start on your premium journey.
So up next we have Shadow Paladin. Now this deck's kind of like kill your rear guards, get some value, all that cool stuff. So if you like any decks that, like, you know, in other card games where you had to like kill stuff and you got a lot of pluses, this may be for you. So we're going to start off with the Revengers deck, and this deck revolves around Revenger, Raging Form Dragon. This is Crow's like tried and true staple. Like, this is his exact deck log that he's been playing, and overall I really enjoy playing this deck when I play Shadows. I also really love the next deck that I'm going to talk about, but what Raging Form does is when it's placed on Vanguard Circle, you can counterblast, and your damage zone has 4 or more cards. You can counterblast one, search your deck for up to one grade 2 or less card with Revenger in its card name. So yes, a lot of this deck is name locked, but you get to call it to rear guard and then shuffle your deck. And then at the end of the battle, it attacks. You can retire 3 rear guards with Revenger in its card name, choose up to one grade 3 card with Revenger in its card name from your hand, and ride it as stand. So if you have another Raging Form and you're able to use that counterblast effect to get back up to 3 rear guards, you can activate it again. And essentially what you try to do is you just try to combo off with Raging Form by getting a bunch of Raging Form Dragons to your hand and just having one big stride turn that just kills your opponent, because you're getting an additional force marker when you re-ride and all that stuff. So overall, this deck has a lot of potency, as well as it has access to Revenger Raging Fall Dragon Reverse, which helps you outlink Joker, so you're actually able to restand and get some good value that way. So like overall, there's a lot of good value found inside of Raging Form. So like 10 out of 10, perfect. You also have access to Revenger Slay Hex Dragon. This is a card that lets you choose a card from Revenger in your hand and discard it. And when it's placed on Vanguard or rides a unit in Revenger in its card name, you can search for a Raging Form, ride it, get the force marker, then this card comes back to your hand, so you can either use it as a stride fodder or another way to get like more Raging Forms. It's just a little more counterblast heavy, so you may have to be careful. The deck though is chock full of free value cards. So the way you extend without being at the limit break 4, as Vanguard players call it, or being at the 4 damage, is with Dark Bless. So if this is put in the drop zone by the cost of one of my units' ability, if I have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, which I'll of course have it with Raging Form, I can call a grade 1 Revenger from my deck, which is powerful because then it guarantees gets me back to at least 3 if I have a full board, so I can activate a Raging Form one more time. Where the real good free value though comes from is mana. Mana is when it's called, you call a grade 1. Like, it is absolutely free. So this card is arguably the strongest grade 2 in the deck. It's an 8k, so it makes the numbers a little balanced, but now with History Collection, you have 16k columns, which is a magic number for a clapback against the History Collection stride. So that works out overall. Ribble is probably your best on hit, because when the attack hits it boosted, you look at the top 3 cards, you choose a card with Revenger in his card name, put it into your hand, you put the rest on the bottom of your deck, and then when he's retired by a card's ability, you can choose your opponent chooses one of their rear guards and retires it. Overall, very, very strong. And then you have more just guaranteed ways of searching Raging Form with Mar and Alfie. The good thing though for Revengers is that, like Royals, we have a Heart Copier. This is Dark Dragon Chainmaker Dragon. Again, it's another flip, and it gains the abilities of your Heart card. So this will just copy Raging Form's effect, and boom, you got him. The cool thing though is that if you have 3 or more grade 1 or less units, you get the triple door for the Shadow Paladin. So a little bit different than Crystal Luster, but still you get that triple door effect, which is very strong. You also have access to other strides, which we will talk about a little bit in the next profile. And so but the one I wanted to kind of highlight here is Crow Crawl. If you don't have, like, if you ran out of your Raging Forms and don't have a way to recycle them back, you can retire 2 rear guards, and your opponent chooses 3 or more of their rear guards and retires them. If they didn't retire 3 at the end of the turn, this unit gets once per turn at the end of the battle that attacks. CB1, you kill 2 rear guards, stand this unit, and it gets 10k. So it doesn't lose drive, and it gets a little bit of power. So Crow Crawl is like pretty solid. It's a high committal though, so if you don't have like cards that get payoffs for being killed, maybe it's not the best way to do it. This deck though does play the blue OT, because adding back heals, and adding back other resource pieces that you kill off is very strong. And then it has access to Morfessa, which we'll cover in the next section for Shadow Paladin. So now we're on here to talking about Premium Luard. So Luard is one of those decks that have a bunch of different ways to deck build, because you have the old G Dragheart version, you have the Dragfall version, then you have the V Plus version, which we'll be covering here. So there's just plenty of ways to build Luard, and this is one of the builds that I will be showing off here. So this one revolves around the V Dragheart Luard. So Luard is a deck that loves its deck full of grade 1s, because it gets payoffs for having a certain amount of grade 1s in the drop zone because of the ritual effect, which is again really awesome. So as you can see here, Dagda explains, or well, not this one, but old deck that used to explain. So Ritual 5 happens when there are 5 or more grade 1s in your drop zone. So this is very good. But talking again back on the Dragheart, so it's his V effect is retire 2 grade 1 rear guards. You draw a card, then choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retires it. And then its cost is reduced by a counterblast for each grade 1 card in your drop. So this card can be absolutely free. But you choose 2 normal units from your drop, return them to your deck, and then search your deck for up to 1 Drag Driver Luard, write it as stand, so you get another force marker, and then you'll re-ride back into a Dragheart Luard as rest at the end of your turn. So you get 3 force markers on a ride-up turn, which is really strong. You have access to Ildana, which Ildana is absolutely broken. In deck and drop, it gets grade -1, so it automatically counts toward your ritual count. But it also says discard this card from your hand. You reveal the top 10 cards of your deck if your Vanguard is grade 1, and you reveal up to 2 or more grade 1 cards. You choose a grade 2 card from among those 10, and you add it to your hand. Very strong, because you have access to really strong grade 2s actually in this deck. Which it comes to Leafall. Leafall is your main ride target because it gets a Karen from deck, and then it makes like the Karen thing, so like you have like the pseudo Leafall rush in this list. But your best grade 2 in the deck for when you go into your Morfessa turns, which we'll talk about once we get to the strides, is Dagda. Dagda is your main attack extender in the deck, and like your most important rear guard to have on the board. Hanali now is important, so we're going to talk about Hanali a little bit. Hanali, let's essentially can prevent like high multi-attack decks that need a lot of counterblast to kind of like kill you, because you can like limit them in a certain counterblast, which then they can't like, you can make it sometimes like where they can't like make it like past 5 attacks because they can't pay the counterblast to attack you anymore. So it's pretty strong. And then the remove unit only affects the opponent. So overall, very, very good card. And the fact that it's a searchable grade 1 from a lot of these cards is very powerful. Ezra's is arguably the best perfect guard in this game, because it's Ritual 3s, you choose one of your riggers, retire, and choose another Ezra's, and you put it on the bottom of your deck, and you return this Ezra's to your hand. So you almost always have a supply of a perfect guard every turn with Ezra's. Very, very strong card. Nemain can search you this Nemain to put a grade 3 from your hand into Soul, so you get Drag Driver Luard's effect to get an additional crit of all your grade 1 rear guards. You get base crit 2. So then you can threaten way lethal, like really early, so that way your Morfessa's turn is even more deadly. Trigger lineup though is pretty simple. Like you have access to Belial Owl, and the way you just get value back from that is just pretty easy. You have Vicro 2 as another starter because you play the V-Series starter. Is the ritual ability you get to when it dies, you get to countercharge 1, so you can like refund a cost of Morfessa. Overall, very, very strong. The name of the game though is stands, and I'll cover these in a second. So the main thing you get out of playing Morfessa is it's kind of about when you turn a card from your G-Zone face up, and you retire 2 rear guards. You draw 2 cards until the end of turn. Your trigger units in your drop zone are regarded as grade 1, which increases your ritual count because you want ritual 10. All of your front row rear guards get it plus 15,000 power and a critical, and when your opponent would guard from cards, they have to guard with 2 every time. So overall, very, very strong. But how do we get this pressure? So the main game plan for this is you want to get into a Morfessa, you want to find a Dagda, and you want to be at Ritual 10. Now, this is where the game plans can be a little different. You can either go Force 1 to have these units be really, really high, so they have to like commit a lot of cards, because it's not just PG guard. Like they have to start like shelling out like a lot of cards that they will have to hard guard these. Or you can go Force 2, give your front row all plus like base 2 crit, because the Morfessa is a +1 critical, so those rear guards and all those units can become 3 crit because it includes herself. But Dagda, when it attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Luard in its card name, you can retire a grade 1 or less rear guard, search your deck for up to 2 grade 1 rear guards, call them to rear guard, and shuffle your deck. So you get to create essentially a new column. And how you keep getting value out of this is that if you have fine stands and when you drive check them off more Fessa. So the stands are the name of the game. All of these go back to deck. These stands go back to deck. So as you're filtering your deck and making it very compressed, you're able to return all your stands back to deck off their effects. So overall, just like very, very strong. Like, don't sleep on these at all. These cards are fantastic. Like Curse Eye Raven's great because you get to rest, you get to call like a unit, and the rest on the bottom. And then yeah, so you return this to deck. And you put a unit on board that you can just kill. So like if you find like a Vicro or something, overall it's just like very powerful. But yeah, there's just a bunch of different things. The Ace G Guard in this deck is Deep Griever. You can make this like, you can send 5 grade 1s from your drop back to the deck, which is really easy. He gets a bunch of shield, but if you put 5, you can CB1 have it become a perfect guard. So you can actually dodge like things that you can say like, oh yeah, no sentinels. Well, you can just G Guard with this, send 5 back, counterblast 1, you have your PG without having it be a sentinel, which is very, very strong. So overall, Luard is very good. Both like Shadows is kind of in a weird spot where because you were in such like a prevalent like Narukami meta like right now in the day of Nage at this time of recording. But I mean, there's just so many options, and this deck obviously it has a lot of fan favorites behind it. So again, we're just rolling and going. So if any of these decks interest you, make sure you go check out the Google doc below. It has all these deck codes, and let's get moving now into Gold Paladin.
There you have it. Hopefully some of the deck ideas found here in this clan were very, very beneficial for you all, and so that way you guys can start your premium journey. If not, feel free to check out the other starters guides on this channel if you kind of have a rough idea of what clans you're looking into, or there's the entire video of where all this was broken up from that you guys can feel free to put on the background and listen to as you guys can watch me ramble about decks. But I hope that this was very beneficial and that you guys continue along with me. Hopefully see you in the next lesson, and until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later.